Okay, let's unpack this. We often talk about athletes having careers, right? A beginning, a middle, and an end.
A linear path.
Exactly. It's usually this linear progression. You're a rookie, you hit your prime, you start to decline, and then you retire.
Standard arc.
But the player we're talking about today, she didn't just have a career. Her career was basically a three-act play.
That's the perfect way to describe it.
A three-act play of sporting brilliance, complete with, tragedy, comedies, and a redemption arc that honestly feels like it was scripted by Hollywood.
It really does. I mean, it is rare enough to dominate a sport in the first place.
Right.
It is almost unheard of to dominate it, leave, come back, leave again, and then come back a third time to dominate in a completely different way.
It's a resume that it defies the normal laws of athletic gravity.
Absolutely.
Exactly. So today we are doing a deep dive into the life and career of Martina Hingis. And just to set the stakes here, because I think time has maybe dulled our collective memory of just how good she was, I want to throw some numbers at you to start.
Okay, let's hear them.
She held the world #1 ranking in singles for 209 weeks.
Wow.
She won 5 singles Grand Slams, and yet, if you ask a casual fan today, they might remember her just as much for the controversies or the injuries as for the actual wins.
Which is a real shame because when you just look at the raw data, she's a titan of the sport.
A titan.
But her career is also a timeline of tennis history itself. She spans 3, completely distinct eras. She's the bridge.
The bridge between what and what?
Between the tactical, classic era of tennis think, Chris Evert, Martina Navratilova, and the modern power game we see today.
Yeah.
The Sabalenkas or Swiateks of the world. She was the pivot point.
And the mission for this deep dive is really to figure out how she did it. How did a player who, let's be real, didn't have the raw muscle or the sheer power of her biggest rivals? How did she use what we're calling geometry and intellect to just dismantle her opponents?
Right. We want to get into the mechanics of her genius.
We do. And here is the aha moment to keep in the back of your mind as we go through this. She was inducted into the International Tennis Hall of Fame before her most successful run as a doubles player.
That is my favorite stat from this whole thing. It's my favorite piece of sports trivia.
It's amazing.
She literally had a Hall of Fame career after already being in the Hall of Fame. It's like a time travel paradox. It shouldn't be possible.
It's incredible. So let's rewind. Let's go all the way back. Because with Hingis, the story of destiny isn't just a literary device we're using. It feels pretty literal.
Oh, it's baked in from birth. She was born in Košice, Czechoslovakia in 1980. And her name, right from the jump, is not a coincidence.
No.
Not at all. This is where the mythology really begins. Her mother, Melanie Molotchorova, was a professional player herself, ranked as high as 10th in Czechoslovakia.
So she knew the game inside and out.
She did.
Right.
And she didn't just pick a name out of a hat. She named her daughter Martina, specifically after Martina Navratilova.
No pressure, kid.
All right, just live up to arguably the greatest player of all time. Simple.
But it wasn't just the name. The sources are pretty clear that Melanie Molotchorova was a woman on a mission. This was a project.
100%. She was determined to develop Hingis into a top player, while she was still pregnant by some accounts. This wasn't a hobby.
Right. And the timeline is just wild. Hingis started playing at age 2.
2.
And she entered her first tournament at 4.
4 years old. I mean, I was still, eating paste and tripping over my own feet at 4.
The coordination required is baffling. The idea of serving, keeping score.
It's hard to even picture. But the context here is so important. We are talking about Eastern Europe in the 1980s. Tennis wasn't just a game.
No, it was a vehicle. A way out.
A way out. A path to a different life. And that life started to change very quickly for her. Her parents divorced when she was 6. Then in 1987, when Martina was 7, she and her mother defected from Czechoslovakia.
They emigrated to Switzerland.
Yes, and that's how we get the nickname that would follow her for her entire career, the Swiss Miss.
She gained citizenship through her mother's remarriage to a Swiss computer technician. But I can't imagine that transition. You're 7 years old.
You leave your home, your language, everything you know. And the one constant in your life is the tennis court and your mother, who is also your coach.
That creates an incredibly tight bond, I'm sure, but also an incredibly intense environment.
For sure. And that intensity produced results.
Yeah.
And it produced them fast. We have to talk about these youngest records because this is where that prodigy label gets cemented in history.
It's not just that she was good, it's that she was good at an age that just doesn't make any sense.
It's a laundry list of youngest ever. Let's start with 1993. At just 12 years old, she wins the French Open junior title.
12.
She's the youngest player to ever win a Grand Slam junior title.
That's middle school. Most 12-year-olds are worrying about braces and homework. She's sliding on the clay at Roland Garros, lifting a major trophy.
And then it just accelerates from there. She turns pro 2 weeks after her 14th birthday.
Which is something we simply don't see anymore.
No, the rules have changed to protect young players from burnout, partly because of careers like hers and Jennifer Capriati's. But back then, she was thrown right into the deep end.
And she immediately started swimming.
She did, and by 1996, she sets a record that still stands to this day. She becomes the youngest Grand Slam champion of all time period by winning the Wimbledon doubles title with Helena Suková.
How old was she?
She was 15 years and 9 months old.
15, holding a Wimbledon trophy on center court. But then we get to 1997, and 1997 is the year where things just go completely off the rails in terms of dominance.
Yeah, 1997 is one of the greatest single seasons in the history of tennis. Male or female, it's just staggering.
So she starts the year by winning the Australian Open.
At 16 years and 3 months old, that makes her the youngest Grand Slam singles winner of the entire 20th century. And look at the scoreline of that final against Mary Pierce.
It was 6-2, 6-2. That's not a competitive match, that's a dismantling.
It was a clinic, a complete tactical masterclass. And then in March of that year, boom, she hits world number 1.
The youngest in history.
The youngest ever. She essentially evicted Steffi Graf from the penthouse of women's tennis and just moved right in.
And if you look at the majors that year, I mean, she nearly pulled off the calendar Grand Slam. That's the holy grail of tennis.
The holy grail, winning all 4 in 1 year.
And she was agonizingly close.
So close. She won the Australian Open, as we said. She won Wimbledon, beating Jana Novotná in a really emotional final where Novotná was the sentimental favorite.
Right, everyone was pulling for Novotná.
And she still won. Then she won the U.S. Open against a very young, very powerful up-and-comer named Venus Williams.
We'll definitely come back to that U.S. Open final because that feels like the first tremor of the earthquake that was coming down the line.
A perfect way to put it.
But the only blemish on that Grand Slam record in '97 was the French Open.
Right. She made the final, but she lost to Eva Mujoly. It's one of those great what-if moments in sports history. If she wins that one match, she has all 4 majors in a single year at age 16.
It's absurd dominance.
But even without the French, winning 3 out of 4 at that age, it's legendary stuff.
Okay, I want to pause here and talk about how she was winning. Because we just mentioned she beat Venus Williams in that U.S. Open final. And we all know Venus and Serena brought this massive, unprecedented power game to the tour. Hingis didn't have that. She was smaller, she was lighter. So mechanically, what was she doing to win a match like that, 6-2, 6-2?
It's the core question of her career, isn't it? She was playing chess while everyone else was starting to box. That's the best analogy I can think of.
Okay, I like that.
Her average first serve was only about 95 miles per hour. That's around 153 kilometers per hour. In the modern game, that is incredibly slow.
That's a second serve for a lot of players today.
Oh, for sure. It's a kick serve at best. She didn't have a single weapon to just blow you off the court, so she had to rely on the geometry of the court.
The geometry of the court. I love that phrase. Let's dig into what that actually means.
It means she understood angles and space better than anyone. But the key technical element, the thing that made her game work, was her ability to take the ball on the rise.
Explain that for the listener who might not be a tennis technician. What does on the rise mean?
Okay, so when a tennis ball bounces, it travels up, it hits a peak, and then it starts to drop.
Yeah.
Most players, even pros, wait for the ball to drop a little bit to hit it in their strike zone. It feels safer, you have more time.
Right.
Hingis didn't wait. She hit the ball while it was still traveling upward, right off the bounce. She cut the arc of the ball in half.
Which is incredibly risky, right? Your timing has to be absolutely perfect.
It requires hand-eye coordination that is, just off the charts. But the advantage you get from it is massive.
What's the advantage?
2 things. First, you use the opponent's speed against them. You don't need to generate all your own power. You just deflect theirs.
Yeah.
It's like judo. Second, and this is the crucial part, you rob your opponent of time. If you hit the ball half a second earlier than they expect, they're still recovering from their last shot. They aren't set. They aren't ready.
So she was suffocating them, not with power, but with time pressure.
Exactly. She was a master of redirecting power. So if Venus Williams hit a 100-mile-an-hour rock cross court, Hingis wouldn't try to out-hit her. She'd just stick her racket out, use the pace, and guide the ball straight down the line, catching Venus completely flat-footed.
And she had this incredible net game, too, which must have helped.
A world-class net game, which came from playing doubles since she was a toddler. She had finesse, she had drop shots, she had lobs. She could disrupt the rhythm of a power hitter.
Because power hitters hate that stuff.
They hate junk. They want a nice, clean, high-bouncing ball to hit. Hingis gave them spins, slices, and strange angles. She made them uncomfortable. She forced them to play her game.
So she's on top of the world in 97. She holds that #1 ranking for 80 weeks straight at one point. And in 1998, she does something historic in doubles, right?
She does. She wins the calendar year Grand Slam in doubles. All 4 majors in 1 year.
Wow.
And for a while there, she held the #1 ranking in both singles and doubles simultaneously. Only the 3rd woman in history to do that, after Navratilova and Arances Sanchez Vicario. It just showed she was the complete master of the racket.
But sports are never static. The game was changing around her. We hinted at it with Venus, but the late 90s was the dawn of the power era.
The big babe tennis era, as Mary Carrillo famously called it.
Right, Lindsay Davenport, the Williams sisters, a resurgent Jennifer Capriati.
Yes.
All these players were arriving with more height, more muscle, more power.
And this is where Act 2 of her story gets really complicated. The rivalry shifts. 1999 is the real turning point.
She starts the year strong, though.
Oh, yeah. She wins the Australian Open again. That's her 3rd in a row.
Uh-huh.
She wins the doubles there with Anna Kournikova, creating that famous Spice Girls of tennis marketing phenomenon.
They were everywhere. Magazine covers, commercials.
2 of the biggest stars in women's sports, period.
But then we get to the 1999 French Open final against Steffi Graf.
Oh, this match. If you want to understand the psychological unraveling of a prodigy, you have to study this match. It is a masterclass in how to lose a match you should win.
Set the scene for us.
The psychological drama from the start. Hingis is playing Steffi Graf, the legend of the previous generation.
Yeah.
And you have to remember, Hingis had made some comments about Graf to the press.
She was young, she was brash.
A little arrogant, maybe?
Yeah.
She said something like, Steffi had some results in the past, but it's a faster, more athletic game now. She is old now. Her time has passed.
Ooh, talk about poking the bear. You do not say that about Steffi Graf, especially not in Paris.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
The French crowd adored Graf.
Mm-hmm.
So they get to the final. Hingis is dominating. She's playing beautiful, intelligent tennis. She wins the first set. She's up in the second. She's serving for the match.
Show's almost over.
She is 3 points away from the title, 3 points from winning the one major that had eluded her. The coronation is almost complete. The meltdown. It started with the disputed line call. A shot from Graf was called one way. Hingis was furious. She was convinced it was wrong. And she actually walked around the net, crossed over to the Graf's side of the court to point at the mark on the clay.
Which is a huge violation of tennis etiquette. You never, ever cross the net.
Never. It's the opponent's territory.
Yeah.
The umpire was furious. And the crowd turned on her completely.
They started booing her.
Booing, whistling, screaming every time she missed a shot. Hingis just lost her composure. She felt the injustice of it all. And as the match started slipping away, the underhand serve happened.
The infamous underhand serve in a Grand Slam final.
It was a moment of pure desperation. Or petulance, depending on how you view it. She hit this soft, looping underhand serve to try and catch Graf off guard.
And the crowd
Went absolutely ballistic. They jeered. Graf, meanwhile, stayed icy cool through all of it. She just refocused, clawed her way back, and won the match in 3 sets.
And the image of Hingis after the match is just haunting.
She left the court in tears, sobbing in her mother's arms in the tunnel. She refused to come back out for the trophy ceremony. Her mother had to physically drag her back onto the court. It was a shattering public moment. It broke the aura of invincibility around her.
And it feels like the cracks that started there just got wider and wider, because after that, the power players really started to take over for good.
They did. Later that same year, she loses the U.S. Open final to a teenage Serena Williams.
That was Serena's first major title.
And it was a huge signal of the changing of the guard. In 2000, she loses the Australian Open final to Lindsay Davenport. So Hingis is still making finals, which shows how incredibly good she still was. But she's not winning them anymore. The power was becoming too much to handle.
The 2002 Australian Open final against Jennifer Capriati sounds like another heartbreaker.
Oh, it was devastating. It was her 6th straight Australian Open final. I mean, just think about the consistency required for that.
Incredible.
And in that final, she led by a set and 4-0 in the second. She had 4 match points. 4.
And she lost.
And she lost. It was 105 degrees on the court, just brutal conditions. Hingis was wilting physically, And Capriati, who was physically stronger, just outmuscled her in the end. It was the story of her late career singles run in a nutshell.
And her body was starting to pay the price for starting at age 4, wasn't it? The physical toll was adding up.
Yes. The Swiss Miss era ends very abruptly. By late 2002, she has chronic ligament injuries in both of her ankles. She's had surgery. She's in constant pain. And in February 2003, at just 22 years old, she retires from tennis.
22. It is just so hard to wrap your head around. Most people are just graduating from college at 22. She had already lived an entire Hall of Fame career.
She was burned out, physically and mentally. She said she wanted to ride horses and finish her studies. She just wanted a normal life. And honestly, it made sense. She had 40 single titles. She'd been world #1 for over 200 weeks. What else was there to prove?
But the competitor in her wasn't dead.
Not at all. It was just sleeping.
Which brings us to the first comeback, 2006.
Yes. She announces her return to the tour. And for a while, it looked great. Really promising.
She had some big wins, right?
She did. She beat Maria Sharapova, Lindsay Davenport. She won the big tournament in Rome, beating Venus Williams in the process. She climbed all the way back to world #6. She even won the Laureus World Sports Award for Comeback of the Year.
So she proved she could still play at a high level.
She proved that her talent was permanent, her hands, her brain. They were still magical, but she hit a ceiling, and we call it the wall.
The wall.
The wall was Kim Clijsters and Justine Henin and Amelie Mauresmo. Basically, a new hybrid athlete had emerged in her absence.
What do you mean by hybrid?
Players who had the power of the Williams sisters, but also the movement and core craft of Hingis. They could do everything. And against this new evolution of player, Hingis struggled in the majors. She could beat the top 20, but she couldn't consistently beat the top 5 in the Grand Slams.
And then this comeback ends in a way nobody, and I mean nobody, expected. The suspension.
Yeah, November 2007. This is the dark chapter of the story. Hingis calls a press conference out of the blue. She announces she's under investigation because she tested positive for benzoylecgonine at Wimbledon that year.
Which is a metabolite of cocaine.
Correct. And, hearing the words, Martina Hingis tested positive for cocaine, was a massive shock to the tennis world. It just didn't fit her image at all.
But the details here are really important.
The nuance is everything. The amount found in her sample was 42 nanograms per milliliter.
Okay, contextualize that for us. Is that a lot?
It's tiny. I mean, microscopically small. To give you a comparison, the U.S. military's cutoff for a positive test is 150 nanograms per milliliter. Many workplace drug tests are even higher.
So 42 is well below that.
Well below. It's an amount that's consistent with very minor incidental contamination like handling money that has trace amounts on it, or being in a room where it was used by someone else.
So she wasn't exactly Scarface.
Far from it. Hingis has always adamantly denied taking drugs. She claimed contamination. But the problem was, the ITF rules at the time were strict liability. Meaning, if it's in your body, you are guilty. Doesn't matter how it got there. The burden of proof is on you to prove your innocence, which is almost impossible.
So she was facing a massive, years-long legal fight.
And she just didn't have the stomach for it. She was already struggling with hip injuries again. She didn't want to spend millions of dollars and years of her life in court to clear her name, so she accepted the 2-year suspension and retired for the second time.
It's interesting because you noted that the ITF actually changed the rules later.
They did. Partly because of cases like this and the Richard Gasket cocaine kiss case, they introduced more nuance regarding unintentional ingestion. But that came too late for Hingis. At the time, she walked away under a cloud. It felt like a really sad, unresolved ending to a glorious career.
But, as we said at the top, this is a 3-act play. And Act 3 is arguably the most surprising and the most fun. Because this is where the script gets really, really creative.
It does. So, let's fast forward. It's 2013. Martina Hingis is inducted into the International Tennis Hall of Fame.
This is usually the end of the line, the final chapter. You get the blazer, you get the speech, you wave to the crowd.
And you go play some exhibition matches for seniors.
Yeah.
You officially a legend of the past.
But not her.
Not her. Literally months after her induction ceremony, she says, you know what? I don't think I'm done. She decides to come out of retirement again.
But this time was different.
Very different. She was strategic. She had incredible self-awareness. She knew her body couldn't handle the grind of singles anymore. She couldn't run side to side for 3 hours against women 10 years younger, so she decided to focus exclusively on doubles.
And this leads to the Santina dynasty.
Yes, this is the highlight of Act 3. In 2015, she partners with Sania Mirza from India, and it was just lightning in a bottle.
Why did that partnership work so well? What was the magic formula?
It was the perfect tactical blend. Sonia Mirza had one of the biggest forehands on the entire tour. A cannon. She was the heavy artillery from the baseline,
The power.
the power. And Hingis, she was the sniper at the net, the chess master.
The geometry again.
Exactly. Mirza would hit a heavy, powerful ball. The opponent would struggle to control it and pop up a weak reply, and Hingis would be waiting at the net to put it away with a delicate volley. It was a simple formula, and nobody could solve it.
They were basically unstoppable.
For a stretch, yes. They won Wimbledon, the U.S. Open, and the Australian Open back to back to back.
And they had that incredible streak.
A 41-match winning streak. Do you know how hard that is in doubles?
It's absurd.
One bad point, one sudden death deuce point, and a match can be over. To win 41 in a row is insane consistency.
And she wasn't just winning women's doubles, she was absolutely crushing it in mixed doubles too.
Oh, yeah. In 2015 alone, she won 3 of the 4 Grand Slam mixed doubles titles with Leander Paes, another legend with incredible hands at the net.
They won the Australian, Wimbledon, and U.S. Open.
And then when she won the French Open mixed doubles in 2016, she completed the career Grand Slam in mixed doubles. She basically collected the whole set of trophies.
That is just incredible. And she finally got back to the Olympics too.
Rio 2016. This was a really emotional moment. She had made her Olympic debut way back in Atlanta in 1996, 20 years prior.
Wow.
She returned to the Olympics, played with her Swiss compatriot Timea Beksinski, and they won the silver medal in doubles. It was the one big thing that was missing from her trophy cabinet.
So when she finally retired for the third and final time in 2017, she got to go out on her own terms.
Completely. And the contrast is amazing. The first retirement was due to injury and burnout. The second was due to a suspension and a cloud of controversy.
And the third.
The third. She was ranked world #1 in doubles. She had just won the U.S. Open doubles with Chan Yan and the U.S. Open mixed with Jamie Murray. She didn't limp away from the sport. She walked away holding 2 more major trophies.
Let's just run through the final summary stats, because when you see them all together, they are staggering. A combined 25 major titles.
5 in singles, 13 in doubles, and 7 in mixed doubles.
And she was one of the very few players in history to reach the finals in all 4 slams in singles, doubles, and mixed doubles.
That stat right there speaks to her all-court genius. She could play on grass, clay, hard court. She could play alone or with a partner. She just understood the game of tennis better than almost anyone who has ever picked up a racket.
We should touch briefly on her personal life, because it was often in the tabloids. She grew up in the public eye, so her dating life was always fodder for the press.
It was, and it was often unfair. She was sometimes painted as this black widow by the tabloids, which was persistent but really undeserved.
She had a brief engagement to the Czech player Radek Stepanek.
Right. Then she married a French equestrian, Thibaut Houtin, which ended in a separation. Later, she married a sports physician, Harold Lehman. They had a daughter, Leah, who was born in 2019, though they did divorce in 2022.
It's just a reminder that while she was this tennis machine on the court, she was a human being navigating a very strange, very public life off it.
Absolutely. But in the end, her legacy is really defined by what she did between the lines. So if we bring it all together, what's the big lesson here? What does her career tell us?
For me, I think it's about adaptability.
I agree. Hingis represents a bridge. She was the last dominant champion of that tactical era, right before the power era took over completely. But instead of just fading away when the game changed, she adapted.
She reinvented herself.
Completely. She accepted that she couldn't dominate singles anymore. She didn't let ego get in the way of that realization, so she pivoted. She channeled all that tennis IQ into becoming the world's best doubles player.
She proved that the brain, that geometry, could extend a career long after the body started to slow down.
For sure.
So here's a provocative thought for you and for our listeners to mull over. We always play the what-if game in sports. If Martina Hingis hadn't suffered those early ankle injuries at 22, or what if she had possessed just 10% more power to counter the Williams sisters and the other big hitters? Would she be in the conversation for the undisputed GOAT, the greatest of all time?
It's the ultimate debate, isn't it? If you drop her into the era 10 years earlier, she might win 15 or 20 single slams. But, in a way, her struggle against the power players is what makes her story so compelling. And you could even argue that her transition to a double specialist was actually the perfect ending for her.
How so?
Because it allowed the chess player to keep playing chess. She found a format of the game where her mind could still consistently beat their muscle. It was the purest expression of her genius.
That is a fascinating way to look at it. From teen prodigy to tactical genius to doubles legend, Martina Hingis really did have a three-act play unlike anyone else in sports.
A Hall of Fame career twice over.
That's it for this deep dive. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.